Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Purnanana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhujakacharya Astatirsa Shishimad. His Divine Grace, the A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Vanantakota Vaishnava ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Prem Sikahosha Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Maya Purnavi Dham ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Hodinam Sankirtan ki jai, Gau Premanandi. All glories to some of the devotees, all glories to some of the devotees, all glories to some of the devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 2, text number 40. Sa Tasmin Devasarana Asino Yogam Ashtitaha Pratyarvatendriya Gramo Yoja Mana Atmani Satasmin Devasarana Asino Yogam Ashtitaha Pratyarvatendriya Gramo Yuyoja Mana Atmani Satasmin Devasarana Asino Yogam Ashritaha Pratyarvatendriya Gramo Yuyoja Mana Atmani Satatasmin Devasarana Asino Yogam Ashritaha Pratyarvatendriya Gramo Yuyoja Mana Atmani Satasmin Deva Sadhana Asino Yogam Ashritaha Pratyarvatendriya Gramo Yuyojam Atmani Tatasmin Deva Sadhana Asino Yogam Ashritaha Pratyahindriya Gramo Yuyojam Atmani Tatasmin Deva Sadhana Asino Yogam Ashritaha Pratyahindriya Gramo Yuyojam Atmani Tatasmin Deva Sadhana Asino Yogam Ashritaha Pratyahindriya Gramo Yuyojam Atmani. Matajis. Satasmin Deva Sadhana Asino Yogam Ashritaha Pratyahindriya Gramo Yuyojam Atmani. Tatasmin Deva Sadhana Asino Yogam Ashritaha Pratyahindriya Gramo Yuyojam Atmani. Sa He Ajamila Tasmin, at that place, Hardwar Deva Sadhane, in one Vishnu temple, Asena, being situated, Yogam Ashtitaha, performed Bhakti-yoga, Pratyahrita, withdrawn from all activities of sense gratification, Indiyagrama, his senses, Yuyoja, he fixed, Mana, the mind, Atmani, on the self or the super soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki. In Hardwar, Ajamila took shelter at a Vishnu temple, where he executed the process of Bhakti-yoga. He controlled his senses and fully applied his mind in the service of the Lord. Purport. The devotees who have joined the Krishna consciousness movement may live comfortably in our many temples and engage in the devotional service of the Lord. Thus they can control the mind and senses and achieve the highest success in life. This is the process descending from time immemorial. Learning from the life of Ajamila, we should vow with determination to do what is necessary to follow this path. Om Jnanatimarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurmalitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukram Kotavachalang Pangun Lang Hayate Gurim Yat Kripataraham Bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Vansha Kalpachubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In the purport here, Prabhupada mentions that devotees can comfortably live in our temples and engage in devotional service. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Upadrastana mantacha bharta bhakta maheshwara paramatmaiti chapyukto dehismim purusaparaha. That within this body, there's another transcendental enjoyer, who's the Lord. He's the supreme proprietor and overseer and permitter. So the body is also a temple. Sometimes people, now when we go out on book distribution, we wear tilak for you. I never did that, but I was inspired by Mahotsaha. Their whole team, they go out with dhoti, kurtas, tilak, everything. So I've been going out with tilak for I don't know, for months now. So people ask, so what do you got on your, what is that on your head? So this marks the body as a temple of God. Oh, okay. So that's what it is. The body is a temple. And we should see everybody as like a temple of the Lord. Yeah. And then that way there's respect there. You see the Lord everywhere. Especially on book distribution also, quite often I actually sometimes I chant this verse like japa. Because Krishna, He's the overseer and the permitter. Nothing happens without the sanction of Krishna. So He's the overseer, He's looking over this. What's that verse? That I am not in Vaikuntha, nor I am in the hearts of the yogis, but I am wherever my devotees are chanting my glories. Naham tishtami Vaikuntha yoginam hridiyesuva. So this is the Lord. Wherever we're distributing the glories of Krishna, He's there. And therefore, the more we engage in book distribution, we find that book distribution is very mystical. You sense the presence of Krishna in this book distribution activity. So there's the Paramatma is there. There's also the body. There's a kshetra, kshetragya, and Paramatma. There's the body, there's the knower of the body, and there's the Paramatma. So mostly people are just aware of the body. They're not very much aware of the soul or the super soul. So our mission is to help people become aware, to wake up and be aware that there's more than just the body. There's the soul and there's the super soul. And the more one is aware of this, the more one experiences the bliss of life. So yeah, that's one of our missions, is to let people become aware of so much more than what they're now aware of, just their body and their senses. It's a pretty dull life, just aware of matter. So the super soul, the Paramatma, is so kind, Krishna is so kind, that wherever we go, the super soul is following us. Yeah. Just like that example is given there of the two birds in a tree. Two green birds in a green tree. And you can't see them very well, but they're there. And one bird is eating the fruits of the tree, and another bird is observing. So the super soul is observing all the activities of the individual soul. Yeah. And wherever the individual soul flies, the super soul is right there, flying right alongside, patiently waiting for the individual soul to turn. So this is this is the kindness of Krishna. You can't find a better friend than Krishna, because He's always right there waiting to help if we want the help. So in the past, before our coming to Krishna consciousness, we were very much into the body, Me, it's the me generation, the I generation, me. So now we've come to this Krishna consciousness, and it's about Krishna. Now it's all about Krishna. And that's a big blow to the false ego. Because, it was just all about, satisfying my senses, satisfying my mind. And now we're trying to satisfy Krishna, his senses, his mind. He's got a mind too, transcendental mind. So, that's a big blow on the false ego, doing what Krishna wants. So what does Krishna want? Yaidang paramanguyang mad bhaktes tabadhasyasi bhaktim mayam param kritam mame vaishya sangsaya. Anyone who is teaching this message of Bhagavad Gita is called this great secret. Yaidang param, the supreme secret, is very dear to me. And such a person, he eventually engages in devotional service. And there's no one more dear to me than that person. So it's a pretty clear secret that Krishna's giving about what pleases him. And therefore Srila Prabhupada, such a dear devotee of Krishna, he came to give this knowledge. He came with 600 books, Srimad Bhagavatams. And when the movement first started, obviously no one knew anything about book distribution. But Prabhupada, he had the books printed and sent to different temples. Wherever there was a temple, he had them sent there, and they were just sitting there, boxes and boxes and boxes of them, just sitting in the temples. And they always didn't know what to do. Some they were trying to do consignment. They'd put some, in the store, like Prabhupada. That was the only example. Prabhupada would put the books in the stores on consignment. If someone would buy one, then he'd bring some more. And that's the only example that they had. Not many books were going out that way. And then I think there was one where they were at a gas station, and they wanted to pay for the gas. So they, can you just take a book? Take a Krishna book. So, all right. So I don't know how much that was, and they were excited. Wow, we paid for the gas for the book. People give money for the book. And so then they started going door to door. And if someone did 5 books, that was like huge. That was like the world record. 5 books was the world record. And then Harinamananda, he broke that record. He broke everyone's record, 900. What's the record now? Do you know? Any idea? He kept, Mahotsaha keeps on breaking his own record. 3,000 or something like that. So I'm sure Krishna and Prabhupada are very pleased. So, this is what Krishna wants. He wants this knowledge distributed. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya, he also says, Ata eva ami agya dulun sabhakare. He says, I order everyone to accept this Krishna consciousness and distribute it everywhere to everyone. So he doesn't, leave any options. If you want, you can do this or you can do that. He says, I order everyone to accept this Krishna consciousness and distribute it everywhere to everyone. So San Diego is part of everywhere, right? I think it's part of, part of everyone. So it's so important that we follow the order, that we make our life, doing what Krishna wants, not what we want, what our senses and mind want, but what Krishna wants. And of course, it's not easy. We're going out and approaching people that aren't interested. People come here to forget God, to be God. I met a guy yesterday. He says, I've already achieved Buddha. Old friend of yours, I forgot his name. Anyway, he says, well, you're already set. I'm going to talk to some other people. So So yeah, they're not interested in serving Krishna, serving God. So it's a little austerity, to go out and approach people, to convince them to take this knowledge. But this is what Krishna wants. This is what Lord Chaitanya wants. When Lord Chaitanya was in South India, he came across one Brahmana, the Korma Brahmana. And he stayed with Lord Chaitanya for 4 months. Imagine such mercy. And then when Lord Chaitanya was leaving, he wanted to go with him. He was actually a wealthy Brahmana, but he just wanted to just leave everything. He became so attached to Lord Chaitanya, you can imagine. So he just wanted to leave. He said, no. Yare deka tarika Krishna upadesh, amar agyaya guru hanatare des. He says, you stay here, instruct everyone of the teachings of Krishna as they are given in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. This way you become a spiritual master and deliver everyone in this land. So this is the desire of Lord Chaitanya, of Krishna, that people hear about him. Now they're hearing so much garbage. I saw one bumper sticker that said, everyone should throw their TVs in the trash. Because it's all garbage. Isn't it? It's just all garbage. You're going right into their living rooms and just polluting. And now so many devices now, so much garbage. So we have to give them some real tangible knowledge that will awaken them. Nehayat karma dharmaya na viragya kalpate nirtutapara sevaya jivan api matovisa. In the Srimad Bhagavatam it stated, if one's work does not bring one to dharma, our constitutional position, if one's dharma does not bring one to renunciation, and if one's renunciation does not bring one to devotional service, then one is considered to be dead, although breathing. So what we have in the world now is a lot of dead people. It appears like they're alive, but it's like the Walking Dead. Remember those science fiction movies? Zombies. The land of the walking dead. So we're trying to bring them alive again. We were also dead. Now we got this knowledge and we're coming alive. We may not be completely alive yet, pure devotional service, but we're coming alive. So this is the way to come alive, is to hear about Krishna. So by this book distribution, by this great marathon, Prabhupada marathon, we're giving people an opportunity to hear about Krishna. And this is the best way to worship Krishna. Tapyante lokatapena sadhavo prayasojana. It's stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam that it's very common for devotees of the Lord to accept voluntary austerity, suffering, for the benefit of others, for their spiritual journeys. So this is, and this is considered, this is understood to be the highest method of worshiping Krishna. So if you want to worship Krishna, this is the best way, according to this verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because when a soul comes out of the darkness of material existence and comes before the deities are so happy. Oh, a soul has finally come back. It's such a great offering. I mean, we offer flowers to the deities and incense. It's nice, and flame. That's nice. But when a soul comes out of the material world before the deities, whoa, that is a very pleasing offering to the deities. And it's, according to this verse, it's the best method of worshiping Krishna. And we may not do very much on book distribution. Just like Bhakti Joseph yesterday, he told me he distributed a book, Bhagavad Gita. He said, only one. But I said, no, that's good. And I'm going to give you a little parable about this. There was an elderly man walking the beach, very old. And he saw that on the shore there were so many starfish stranded on the sand there. So he thought, oh, they're going to die, suffocate. So he started, he'd slowly bend down and pick one up and throw it into the ocean. And one boy, a 10-year-old boy, came by. And he was surprised. Excuse me, mister, but what do you think you're doing here? And he had a bit of a smirk on his, like, what are you doing? Well, what does it look like I'm doing? I'm throwing the starfish back into the ocean so that they could live. And the boy said, well, I don't know if you notice, mister, but there's thousands of them. Do you really think you're going to make a difference? And then he bent down and he threw one in the ocean, and he said, well, I made a difference there, didn't I? Threw that one. So the boy thought, all right, yeah, it's a good point. So he started helping him. So we may think that one book, not much, but no, it makes a difference. I'll tell you an interesting story of one lady. She was distributing books she was from Argentina, and she was distributing books in Uruguay. She had never been there distributing books, and it was very difficult. And she only distributed one book the whole time she was there. And she thought, well, I'll never go there again. But that one book made a devotee. That's pretty good. That's 100% success. So we never know what one book is going to do. So we just have to have this this determination to go out and give this this knowledge. And attached, we had to be attached to pleasing Krishna, to helping the conditioned souls. I want to read something to you. I'm also going to want that Markandeya Bhagavat Dharma, marking name, Bhagavat Dharma. This is from Daivi Shakti Mataji, who was one of our Queen Kuntis in ISKCON. She's been distributing books for over 50 years, completely fired up. So she says, always see the person we are speaking with as a suffering living entity that Krishna has sent to us. We should try our best to help each person we speak with. Never think fruitively. Such a mentality will destroy our enthusiasm and compassion. The more we sincerely want to help people, the more Krishna will send people that want to be helped. Yeah, very interesting. So a lot of times, that's an old quote. But in the past, there used to be a lot of individual competition, and it got so intense sometimes. I remember there was one. I might have mentioned this before, but devotee was distributing books, and there was some competition, some heavy competition between these two devotees. So this devotee was standing behind the devotee he was competing with and waving the people off. Don't take the book. Don't take them. And they didn't take the book, and like, it's completely insane. Kind of, yeah. A little bit too much into the competition, yeah, and forgetting what's actually important. So therefore, in many places they don't have the individual. Just like here, we don't have the individual names. We show we let everyone know of the complete score. No individual scores. I think Vaishesha Prabhu also, he does like that. So we can compete. Yeah. Actually, the main competition is who can be the best servant of Krishna. Who can leave the best impression? Because this is the golden rule of book distribution, is leaving everyone with a good impression. Whether they take a book or they don't take a book, leave them with a good impression. So important. Because if we leave people with a good impression, they may not take a book now, but they'll remember, oh, that was such a nice person. And then later, when they see a devotee, then they take a book. Yeah. So it's, and Vaisheshika Prabhu, he's such an amazing devotee. He has, there's mantras that we have that we approach people, but there's also exit mantras. And Vaisheshika Prabhu, he has a nice exit mantra. This is the exit mantra. He says, I want to thank you very much for taking your valuable time, and I want to tell you how much of an honor it was to meet you. That's his exit mantra. So then he says, the positive side for us is that by going out in the public to preach, we have the perfect opportunity to leave a wonderful impression with everyone we meet. There are so many ways to do this. One way is to get into the habit of taking the extra time to make eye contact with the people, to really appreciate something about them, to think of them as spirit souls, to say something nice to them, even when, especially when, they don't want to give a donation, or especially when they are indifferent to us. Give them a good feeling. This is yoga, remaining equipoised, keeping your balance through spiritual vision and practice. This is the yoga of Sankirtan. To come to this level, if we're attached to the results, then we create an atmosphere with a harmful residue. Don't think, why can't they help so I can have a better score? You'll leave a subtle toxic residue in the air. And that residue will get all over you as well as on everyone else around you. You create an environment by the way you think. Think, how can I help this person get closer to Krishna? So we should try to come to this platform of Sankirtan by practicing yoga, do book distribution for Krishna, and to help the suffering souls. It will bring us to a new level. And it's an exciting challenge. Nice, huh? So, yeah, this is the goal. We want to leave a good impression. Of course, we want people to take books so they can learn about Krishna. But we want to have everyone leave with a good impression. It's like Prabhupada, he was such a gentleman. And he said, this is a symptom of a devotee, is that they're a perfect gentleman or a perfect lady. And this comes from good sadhana. If we have good sadhana, it's going to overflow. We go out on book distribution, it's going to overflow, and people are going to feel that good energy that comes from this good sadhana. So important. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he set it up so nicely. Such a nice morning program, Mangalartik. Mangalarti means the auspicious artik. 4:30 in the morning, just hearing the names of Krishna, seeing the deities, and then Guru Puja and Tulsi Puja. So this is all very purifying. Yesterday I met one person. He said, so, what is the goal of life? I said, the goal of life is to become pure. Again. Imagine if everybody was pure. No envy, no greed, no stealing, no crime. Everybody was pure. I said, yeah, that'd be nice. So that's what this knowledge is about. The biggest lack in society, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, is Krishna consciousness. The only lack in Krishna or in the world is Krishna consciousness. So therefore, we have to give this Krishna consciousness out. And when we distribute books, we're not distributing ink and paper. We're distributing gold and diamonds. Valuable. These books are very valuable, priceless. It's like when I asked for a donation now, I said, well, you can't put a price on wisdom. Priceless. Then I give a range, yeah. But yeah, that's the reality. Any one of these books is more valuable than all the gold, all the diamonds on the planet, because this is transcendental. This is completely transcendental wealth. People can get a small book, Perfection of Yoga, and read it and become pure, become purified, become a pure devotee just by reading one book. And that's a ticket back to the spiritual world. Very inexpensive. It's like to go to India, so expensive now, $1,000 or something. But you can go back to the spiritual world just paying $1 and getting the perfection of yoga. I wonder how far the spiritual world is. It's quite distance. It's a big distance away. So Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come and he slashed the prices. Very cheap. Just give a donation, take a book, and that can qualify you for going back to the spiritual world. So Javita, can I have that Markane Bhagavat Dharma? Well, you could go ahead and read it yourself. Actually, no, let me read it, and then maybe I'll say a few things as I'm going through it. So this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever read.
Increase the size for my size.
Okay, no, that's good. When I read this first, I just thought, wow, Prabhupada is the most wonderful poet that's probably ever walked this planet. He says, "My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul." This was written on the boat, right? When he arrived at Boston Harbor.
Got off and went back on the boat, and so he'd seen Boston.
Yeah. So did he start it when he was on the boat, then he got off, and then he finished it, or?
He walked off the boat, took a little walk, and he saw the buildings and everything, and he got back in the boat.
Then he wrote it. Oh, okay. So he stepped onto the land of America, the land of the free, so-called land of the free, land of the brave, and then he wrote it. "My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul." You see the humility, immediately you see the humility of Prabhupada. Useless soul, Shakti Vaishnavatar, pure devotee, this is the nature of a pure soul, useless. "But I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. But I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place, Boston?" Now, what time of the year was that? September. Okay, now it wasn't cold. Yeah, September's a good time of the year. And Boston, it's not, it's not too bad. Could be worse. Not New York City. But he says a terrible place. "Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. But I know your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic." Just like we have a goal to do 10,000 book points. The last 2 years we've done 6,000. So some may think that, well, this is not possible. But what does Prabhupada say about the word impossible? It's a word in a fool's dictionary. So we're going to need the help of all the devotees in the temple and the congregational members and make this possible. Very auspicious. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service? O Lord, I am simply praying for your mercy so that I'll be able to convince them about your message. All living entities have become under the control of the illusory energy by your will, and therefore, if you like, by your will, they can also be released from the clutches of illusion. I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only then will they be able to understand your message. The words of Srimad Bhagavatam are your incarnation, and if a sober person repeatedly receives with submissive oral reception, then he will be able to understand your message. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, the super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous and properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart, and the devotee is established in goodness, and he becomes completely happy. Thus established the mode of unalloyed goodness, thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruit of actions is terminated when one sees the self as the master. He will become liberated from the influence of the modes of ignorance and passion, and thus all inauspicious things accumulated in the core of the heart will disappear. So this is Prabhupada's prayer again. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Whew. That's deep. Unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. So this is what gave him the ability, that qualified him to get the mercy, because he was so humble. So humility is so important. It's like sometimes on book distribution, like I said, it's not easy. So one has to be tolerant. You get many no's. But if we're tolerant, then there's not much to tolerate. If we're not tolerant, then there's so much to tolerate. Right? If we're tolerant, then there's not much to tolerate. Because you're tolerant. I forgot where I heard that. I heard it from somebody. I thought, wow, that's so clear. If we're tolerant, then there's not much to tolerate. You just, it's Krishna's arrangement. Just, you go on. But if you're intolerant, you got to tolerate so much. Right? It becomes intolerable. Interesting, huh? Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or a failure, as you like. O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel gladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, O Lord, make me dance as you like. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhakti-Vedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhakti Vedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, dated 18th of September, 1965. Srila Prabhupada ki? There's some devotees in the world, they read this every day before they go on book distribution, just to get the proper mood. So, is there any question or comment before we end? Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Vijay. So, who cares about me, but those that are going out, if you can please give me your score so we can include that. Anyone that goes out, please give me the score and where you distribute it so we can include that in our announcements in the morning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
good. Yeah.
Make sure they have your phone number.
You have to get, you have your contact information.
Okay. If you don't know what it is, ask a devotee.
We all have his number, so if anybody wants his number, we...
Mentioned that story about that devotee from Argentina who distributed one book. I have another one book story. There was, I think it was in New York, there was a medical convention, and there was two doctors who were there from Burma. And they weren't Hindus or anything like that. I think they were Muslims, actually. But they were approached by a devotee, and they thought, okay, well, we know a Hindu guy in Burma, so yeah, anyway, we'll take the book, I guess. And well, I think what they said is that they didn't want the book, and then the devotee asked, like, do you know anybody who might want it? And they said, okay, yeah. And so then they took it. They went back to Burma with this. It was a Bhagavad Gita, and they gave it to this friend of theirs, and he said thank you and put it on the shelf, and it just sat there. So his son, the friend, the Hindu friend, his son wanted to learn English so he could do some kind of work or something. And so he was looking on his father's bookshelf for an English book. He saw Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, and he started reading it. And I think he said, by this, third or fourth chapter, he was already a devotee. And so, anyway, he was reading, and he really, really loved it. And he sent, I guess, he sent something, to the BBT in LA. And so they got, this thing. They were, requesting more books from Burma, and they were wondering, like, who's out there in that part of the world. There's nobody there at that time. And so anyway, my spiritual master was preaching in, I think, Cambodia and Vietnam at that time, or Thailand, and then I think in that time he was in Cambodia. And so they sent him to go to Burma, but you could only get in at that time because of the government. You could only get into Burma for 3 days every 6 months.
1 day.
It was for 1 day.
1 day.
It was for 1 day every 6 months. And so they, so he got in, he got the 1 day visa, and he went there and he met with this.
But he inquired from LA, do you have any
Yeah.
in Burma? And they gave him that address, because they had mailed that. He mailed the card in.
Yeah, so they mailed it to Bhakti-Vikashmar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they told me, here we have this one address.
So then he went, yeah. So
Yeah.
he got it.
Yeah. So that's how he got in, because you needed a contact in Burma to get in, and so that's how he got in. And then, so anyway, he taught him, how to chant japa, how to offer his food, and etc. And then, of course, he had to leave, and then he would come back every 6 months. But eventually, this this devotee who got the book, he got into a fight with his father, because his father was a big time impersonalist, and he didn't like that his son was becoming a bhakta. And so eventually his father said, get out, and he kicked him out of the house. And I'm not sure.
20
not
years
sure.
old, like that?
Yeah, something like
Young.
that. Something like that. And so anyway, there was all these abandoned, Hindu temples in Burma because the government, was so oppressive. They were killing Hindus and Buddhists, and so there was all these abandoned temples. So he went to one abandoned temple there, and there's deities of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra that were there. And of course, the whole building was dilapidated. The deities weren't being taken care of. There was nobody there. So he started living in the temple, and he started, he slowly was cleaning up the place and trying to take care of the deities. And gradually people saw, and some people came and gave donations, boga, money, like that. And that was the first temple in Burma. And now the whole country is, opened up. There's so many devotees there.
He preached all over Burma. There's about, I don't know, 15 temples or something like that.
Yeah, there's so many. And there's our temple one of our temples is in the capital, on the main street in the capital of Burma. It's like a 3-story building or something like that. So the whole country was opened up.
I think he got a BTG, right? Or was it a book or a BTG?
I think it was a Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, Bhagavad Gita. Oh, yeah, because he wanted to learn English. That's
Yeah.
right. And he learned English, but he also became a devotee.
Yeah, so the whole country of Burma was opened up by one book, which was distributed across the world to 2 people who didn't even want
See,
it.
this is the power of book distribution. Huh? Amazing. The whole country opened up because of one book. Amazing. Okay, maybe one, because we got to stop. Go ahead. You have a question?
I had 2 quick comments. One was that it's nice to see so many people in Bhagavatam class. It's nice we have a full assembly. Very good. Also, thank you for the preparation. You shared very nice things. And one was I was struck by Prabhupada, who's coming to America, and he's the great preacher we've really ever received. And he's so humble. Like, so humble. And it almost seems, to be that humble, it seems almost, I don't want to say false, but he shouldn't be that humble. He's so qualified, but he's so humble. So it's
Inconceivable.
we should take that mood. Yeah. So we should try to humble ourselves, even if we feel like we have some position or talent. Like, we should take that mood on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And preaching helps one become humble.
Those no's, right? Yeah. You gotta. Yeah.
Very humbling.
And it was just a quick question about competition, because Govardhan Prabhu brought it up nicely in his class, that if a karmi sees someone equal to them, they compete with them. But so we have that level of competition. The spiritual world, you're competing, but you're competing for the pleasure of Krishna. You talked really about Krishna as a transcendental mind, so it's different. So how is that different in the spiritual world than it is in the material world?
Well, who can please Krishna the most? I heard recently I heard someone say that in the temple we should compete. Who can be the kindest, the most compassionate devotee? Compete to who can be the most devoted. So this is like in the spiritual world. Or also there's that pastime of the devotees are running after Krishna. I'm going to touch Krishna first. I'm going to touch Krishna first. So there's little competitions like that, but there's no envy. There's no material envy there.
You should feel very good when you hear a big score.
Yeah.
I was just remembering how one devotee replied to that question by saying that spiritually one could be envious or could be competitive, wanting to do more than another devotee, but never wanting the other devotee to do less, so it looks like I did more. Because the devotee wants others to do more too, but then I also want to do even more. So it's wanting to do more is not necessarily bad, but wanting the other person to do less than me is...
Good. You're going to do more, but I want him to do more than what I did. Yeah. Just keep...
What about professional sports? But I've heard that where great competitors, like the 2 best people of their decade, said his level of athleticism encouraged me to do better athleticism. I'm only great because he brought the greatness out of me.
Yeah.
So
Good. Yeah, very nice. Okay.
Dr. Sewell.
Srila Prabhupada ki?